This is the story of Antigua and Barbuda, two sister islands located in the Eastern Caribbean region with abundant tourism attractions and with a positive economic outlook that is putting the country on the world map for international investors. Antigua and Barbuda is a living museum of natural history and a sanctuary for some of the rarest species of flora and fauna on Earth. The country is known for its welcoming and hospitable people, for political stability and social harmony, as well as its rich historical and cultural heritage. Whilst small in size, the country is proving to be a model for sustainable development, while continuing to be the dream holiday destination for millions from all over the world. Throughout this program, we will take a look at the country's recent reforms and initiatives that have been put in place in recent years and have brought about the transformation of the country.
Perhaps our most significant success is that we have literally taken an economy that was in tatters and would have transformed it into the most vibrant economy within this hemisphere. So for example, in 2016, the country's economy grew by over 6.5%. And that easily would have made Antigua and Barbuda the best performing economy in this hemisphere and one of the best performing in the world. And the projections of this year are equally strong. We believe that in 2018, that we will exceed 6.5%, perhaps 7 or 8%. And I believe too that we should be able to do this sustainably over a period of time.
Tourism plays the most important role in the country. The country is very much dependent on tourism. Probably about 75% of our GDP is dependent on tourism. So tourism is really the main economic driver for the country. As a result, we have to position Antigua to allow for our product to be attractive to those people that are coming in, whether it's by yacht or by cruise ship or by overnight by air.
With a new government in office since 2014, under the Labour Party led by the Honourable Prime Minister Gaston Browne, the country has witnessed a very impressive turnaround. Inheriting a nation with trade and fiscal deficits, with many of its key government institutions on the verge of bankruptcy, the government immediately embarked on a comprehensive reform program that would set the country on a new path to prosperity. Measures were taken to strengthen macroeconomic stability, raising efficiency and transparency of public finance. His style has been described as one of entrepreneurial socialism, wherein the government plays an active role in creating business opportunities with the aim of enticing the private sector to partner and thus bring a positive impact to the local Antiguan and Barbudan population. The main objective was to put the country back on track, revitalize its financial system, and set in motion the necessary initiatives that would bring the country back into economic growth. Within the course of 3 years, the country is now the fastest growing economy in the Southern Hemisphere, averaging 5.5% for the 2014-2017 period. In this short lifespan, the country began to be regarded once again as the attractive destination it once was.
My government must undergo a policy to encourage a redistribution of wealth so that the working class people in particular, that they could share equitably in the gains of the country. Now, we do not intend to do so by exploiting the capitalists. What we intend to do is to partner with the capitalists in order to create a sustainable model in which the economic gains of the country could be shared in a more equitable way. And we call that model entrepreneurial socialism. Now, the entrepreneurial part of it is the capitalist component to generate income, to generate profits, to ensure sustainability, but at the same time, not to lose that critical focus to ensure that the masses could share in those economic gains.
In 2014, the Antigua Barbuda Party government came to office under the leadership of the Honourable Gaston Browne. And upon coming to office, we had a mantra of rebuilding, but never did we expect in our wildest dreams that rebuilding would be so all-inclusive, so encompassing. It's like rebuilding every single aspect of the national economy. And so, among our first challenges was to fix the economy. And we thought that that would be the extent of the fixing. But then you realize that just about everything had gone wrong for the previous 10 years. The infrastructure was crumbling, The national health program had gone south. Sports and culture were virtually, dead, if dying, if not dead. And so I say a special moment from that perspective, in that we are now on a path of totally rebuilding the national infrastructure. National life, in short, is being rebuilt.
My sole objective is to serve and empower the people of Antigua and Barbuda. I have no other personal interests, and I can say that my government has done extremely well to advance the living standards of the people of Antigua and Barbuda. We want to make sure that the people of Antigua and Barbuda enjoy living standards that is second to none. Ultimately, our vision is to transform Antigua and Barbuda into an economic powerhouse.
On June 12, 2014, the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party won a majority of the constituencies in a general election and were called upon to form the government for a 5-year term. On the day following, June 13, 2014, hours after the Prime Minister and the Attorney General were sworn in, they signed an agreement for a development project with a Chinese investor valued at more than $1 billion US. This constituted one of the most important investment projects in the Caribbean in the last decade. That single act would define the character of the new administration and its leader, Prime Minister Gaston Browne. The new corporate government ethos would press a rapid completing of agreements necessary to generate jobs, economic opportunities, and improved social conditions. The Gaston Browne administration would quickly act to eliminate personal income tax. The reversal of an innovative approach to spurring consumer spending by the United Progressive Party administration was deemed burdensome and inhibiting innovation. By July 2016, personal income tax was gone, and millions of dollars were returned to the pockets of income earners eager to consume.
Lest we forget, the UPP left our nation with the biggest banking crisis in the history of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. It was a crisis that seriously destabilized our country's financial sector and would have robbed masses of our people of their life savings, many of whom would have been reduced to poverty instantly. ABI Bank was bankrupt and on the point of collapse. My government resolved the ABI Bank issue and stabilized our financial sector.
Since taking office in 2014, the economy of Antigua and Barbuda has grown each year. In 2016, the Antigua and Barbuda economy grew by 6.5%, the strongest growth in the Western Hemisphere and the 4th highest in the world. The Prime Minister has repeatedly made clear that he is engineering a Caribbean economic powerhouse. Despite a hurricane in September 2017, economic growth is still strong. On September 5 and 6, 2017, Hurricane Irma struck Antigua and Barbuda. It wreaked havoc on Barbuda, destroying or seriously damaging more than 95% of all buildings. It destroyed the air terminal, the hospital, the fire station, the police station, the electricity and water production systems, and homes. Hundreds of homes. All 1,800 residents of Barbuda had to be evacuated to safety in Antigua, where most still remain. The Gaston Browne administration is compelled to spend hundreds of thousands on maintaining the population of evacuees each month. The crisis is not yet at an end, since the schools remain closed. Barbudan parents and children living in Antigua cannot return until the teachers and others can be housed safely in Barbuda.
In the wake of the mightiest storm in the Caribbean's history that laid waste to our Barbuda, the people of this nation showed their capacity to stand in each other's shoes. When fortune turned against some of us, the rest of us stretched out a helping hand.
He was so emotional, what took place in Barbuda. And he was so caring and loving that the Prime Minister evacuated the Barbudans to come over into Antigua when he heard that there would have been another hurricane approaching Barbuda. He traveled to the UN, representing Antigua and Barbuda, but he more expounded on the issue and the matters that took place in Barbuda because of the hurricane. And he was emotional, and I can remember crying because of what he would have said. And I can remember him also crying. He's only showing his love, his concern for the people of Barbuda. That's the Prime Minister that I know. this soft side to him. He showed this soft side to him that it's unbelievable. It was really unbelievable.
On September 6th, my small two-island state, Antigua and Barbuda, was a victim of the ferocity of Hurricane Irma, the largest storm ever endured in the Atlantic in human history. The island of Barbuda was decimated, its entire population left homeless, and its buildings reduced to empty shells. Fortunately, Antigua and Barbuda was spared the full blast of Hurricane Maria just 9 days later. Although sustained winds of up to 60 miles per hour gave us a troubling awareness of the agony visited on the nearby islands of Dominica, Guadeloupe, and Puerto Rico, Antigua and Barbuda continue to remain resilient.
Climate change is becoming one of the central reasons, one of the central causes of forced displacement in the world, and I think it is one more reason to do everything possible to stop this movement and to make climate action a strong priority of the whole of the international community.
Well, it just confirmed what I saw when I came away. Firstly, that Barbuda is a mangled wreck. What seems to be happening now is that the island is infested with mosquitoes. In fact, as we speak, there are mosquitoes bothering us. And I'm told too that they are water flies. That when they sting you, you get a bump, and it actually has water in it. It's like a boil, and it eventually turns into a sore. So there's no way we could have had Barbudans living here under these conditions, even those who are diabetic and so on. I think we did a responsible thing to evacuate them. When you look at Codrington, it's like a blown out city, a city that was bombed. And for those who are still in denial, when we would arrange to move them over temporarily on a daily basis, I think they'll recognize that the island is definitely uninhabitable.
It just shows how Antiguans care and truly how we are one nation and one people. It was just last night when I posted the post on Facebook, inviting Antiguans to open their doors to accommodate Barbudans, giving instructions from cabinet to do so, and I'm amazed, I'm overwhelmed. Today, I would estimate perhaps around 450 people who we would have accounted for came over, and they've all been into homes. We have some housed at NTTC, which is a shelter. We have approximately 60 there, and we have 80 at the stadium.
Climate change is real. We are living the consequences of climate change. So we do not have the luxury to argue about the impact of climate change. We know that it is man-made. And in the Caribbean, almost on an annual basis, we are seeing more powerful storms. So for us, climate change is an existential threat. Renewable energy is a priority for Antigua and Barbuda, and certainly a priority for my government. And this particular project, in which we will invest about $15 million US, will help us to do a combination project between wind and solar. And that project, in essence, will help us to address the whole issue of mitigation against climate change, as well as adaptation. So for example, we have had a persistent drought for the last 4 years, and as a result, the country has been practically fully reliant on reverse osmosis water. So by applying this particular initiative, we will be producing water using these plants. The energy for the production of water will come from the wind and solar plants from this initiative. Today's summit was certainly a successful summit, one that I believe will help to strengthen the integration process between Cuba and CARICOM countries, one in which we should see an enhancement in trade relations between Cuba and CARICOM. As you're aware, the trade between Cuba and CARICOM has grown over the years, and we expect that as a result of this particular forum and other engagements that we will see an exponential increase in the amount of trade between Cuba and CARICOM.
Well, in my humble opinion, I think that the Honorable Prime Minister has done a remarkable job in transforming the economy of Antigua and Barbuda. given just the short 3 years that he has been in office. We all can remember that at the end of the tenure of the United Progressive Party's administration, that we were told we were in the eye of a Category 5 hurricane, and to transform so that more persons are receiving jobs and that the economy is growing at such a fast rate. Had it not been for the devastation on Barbuda, what would the growth in Antigua and Barbuda look like for 2017? It would have been way ahead of what it was. And I think he has had a very positive impact on the young people of Antigua and Barbuda.
I think that he has an approach whereas he doesn't hold back. All right, once he goes for it, he gives it his all. And I think that's what Antiguans and Barbudans need. They need somebody who will fight for them. All right, I think that he is a guy who thinks out of the box, whereas his strategies are, sometimes you just have to wonder, where did this guy come up with this from? You know, because let's look at their situation in Barbuda. All right, if we looked back on the previous administration or the UPP government, I don't think that the leaders of that time would have been able to come up with such a solution. Yes, we may say that, you know, Barbudans are impeding on us, but it was for the survival of the people. All right, and that action that he took was not an action for his personal gain, but an overall action to ensure that Antiguans and Barbudans are safe.
Locally, we've seen like significant growth in the economy, and this is as a result of a number of reasons. For example, we have seen an increase in investments. I don't know if you've heard of the recent expansion of the Tamron Hill and the Veranda Resort, and also we have as far as infrastructure is concerned, the Caribbean Development Bank has released $250 million that would aid in the creation and rebuilding of roads in Antigua and Barbuda. Also, in the field of environment, we have a situation here in Antigua and Barbuda where the Department of Environment is looking to push for more environmentally friendly initiatives. We recently had the elimination of plastic bags, which is being replaced by the foam plates.
Because I am involved in education, I think that his greatest contribution thus far, in my view, would have been that of education. The Prime Minister scholarship has moved from $4 million annually to $20 million. In addition to that, as the program manager of what we call the Second Chance program here, this is the first of its kind in the history of Antigua and Barbuda, where young people, for whatever reasons, who were not able to complete their secondary education, is now given an opportunity to come back up to age 45. And all of their payments are done through the government of Antigua and Barbuda. So all they have to do is to come with the books and ready to learn.